One Punch Man has one of the best scaling systems in all of manga. It's ironic, because the system itself was written to be purposely inconsistent, yet it manages to accurately scale better than most of the manga. The Wolf, Tiger, Demon, Dragon, and God classifications also do a good job of encompassing a variety of threats within a range of power. The biggest discrepancy is a threat's ability to grow. Though the association has the power and the freedom to change a monster's disaster level, there have been several occasions where lethal threats didn't have a chance to be dubbed, and for a variety of reasons. We're all familiar with what it takes to reach most of these achieved threat levels, although we often debate for hours as to the merits of these claims in contrast to actual displays. So let's address the most recent of scenarios that has come into question. In chapter 136, Garou is quoted saying, "I think I can do it now. At this rate, I can even make it to disaster level God." We've seen all kinds of hype and trash talk from a variety of characters, but this doesn't seem like one of those occasions. If we are to take One and Garou seriously, and this is truly an iconic claim that we should explore, there's more than one reasonable challenge to the idea of God level Garou. Let's begin with the identification of the disaster level. As mentioned earlier, we have a pretty good indicator of what feats push a character into a certain disaster level. Not only does the story describe the scenarios in which officially threat levels are given, but we can use the common skill level of previously declared threats as a basis for the average in a category. Deep Sea King, Pure Blood, and Bug God aren't that far apart in the grand scheme of things, yet up against each other there are stark differences. These differences are often the reasons why we debate the merits of individuals. When we contrast on larger scales, though, things become increasingly uncertain and subjective. The biggest example of this is the above dragon moniker that we as a fan base have dubbed. From Orochi to Boros, there are now about 4 characters who don't seem similar enough to the average dragon. The difference between these 4 characters and most dragon threats is even greater than other disaster levels. So if we aren't really sure if God, Orochi, Boros, and Sairochi should be in the dragon category, what hope do we have to accurately identify the true God disaster level? Even Boros himself, the current strongest villain in the series, failed to receive one's declaration. We don't know the minimal requirements in terms of merit to reach this point. If sending Saitama to the moon wasn't enough to grant a God disaster panel, then we honestly have no idea what's needed. We've now also seen someone literally cut a portion of the earth, and still no declaration. I don't think we have the ability to verify whether Garou can reach this threshold or not, because we don't know what the threshold is. Another reasonable challenge to God level Garou is the current champion. The manner in which Boros arrives in the story is currently unprecedented. A spontaneous assault on humanity with a planet-busting trump card just sitting in wait. His entrance and accomplishments have turned Boros into a sacred cow on a pedestal. It's blasphemy to include Boros in average power scales, or to even compare him during in-series versus debates. Why? Because it's clear that the greatest display of power so far was between him and Saitama. Boros forced the strongest hero, literally the main character, farther than any threat before or since. Even in Saitama's eyes, Boros is the strongest ever. To challenge that just based on current feats, I think is laughable. Let's not downplay this too much though, because we obviously have to take the claim seriously enough. It makes sense that the main villain of the overarching storyline would be able to reach such great heights. Not to mention the multitude of chapters supporting Garou's journey of development. In some sense, it would be ideal to have Garou surpass Boros because of all the hard work we've seen him put in. I'm not arguing that Garou doesn't deserve to reach third level God. I'm arguing whether it's reasonable that he gets there. Not even current Sairochi has matched all of Boros' stats, but we're willing to give Garou the benefit of the doubt. Even Sairochi's Earth Cutter would fail in comparison to the collapsing star attack. Neither Orochi nor Sairochi have managed any physical feats compared to Boros either. From matching Saitama hand to hand, to blitzing Saitama and catching him off guard, instant regeneration, and a literal kick to the moon. and much more. The display that Boros put on wasn't even a god level threat, and though his efforts may end in being surpassable, Garou would have to pull off the best feats in the series in order to do it. Not to mention getting a god decoration. I believe my strongest challenge to god level Garou comes with the comparison of his previous Zenkai boosts and what will be required for the god prospect to be achieved. Allow me to use a numerical reference in order to convey this idea. Garou began his journey of defeating his fellow disciples and bodying multiple heroes and villains in front of Sitch. Let's consider this level 5. While in contrast, Garou has now outmatched Darkshine in a hand-to-hand exchange, fully cementing his claims of accomplishment in regards to durability and power. Let's consider this power level 50. My claim is that no Zenkai boost between these two levels was anywhere near as great as the required Zenkai boost to make Garou a god. Even to make Garou on par with Boros will require the greatest Zenkai this series has ever shown. Now let's be clear, this scenario clearly has more nuance to it than that. For example, Saitama technically has had the greatest Zenkai in series, so it wouldn't be crazy to see Garou have a smaller one as the main villain. But this Steel Man is best clarified with the difference between limiter break and limiter removal. As far as we know, multiple characters have broken their limiter. Even Garou mentioned that it's the tactic she used on countless failed Orochis. But Saitama's limiter removal is currently unmatched, and a frontier of science, at least in the eyes of the respected Dr. Genos. I think it's clear that the presence of the limiter is what restricts the exponential growth that Garou believes he can achieve. Every instance of Garou overcoming insurmountable odds resulted in a power-up, but none have anywhere near the scale required to make Garou stronger than Boros. After overcoming the Bang and Bomb Genos fight, after tanking the Royal Ripper Bug God encounter, after muddling through Rover Garou and Orochi, none of these occasions forced Garou to grow the amount he'd need to reach God. In conclusion, Garou currently has the opportunity to have the greatest Zenkai he's had so far. I personally believe he achieved his greatest boost when he got up from fighting Royal Ripper and Bug God. He managed to survive fighting the strongest threats the Monster Association had to offer. If he can show even greater growth than ever before, then this statement may be more foreshadowing than empty hype. Garou is arguably the greatest villain of the series, and one of, if not, my favorite character. There is no joy greater than seeing Garou cut loose. I don't know what one has in store for us, but I'm excited to see if Garou can reach threat level God.